So our first aha moment. So aha moments are when I'm working with a team and someone in the audience, I can see their eyes light up. I can see that they've just had a light bulb moment because I've shown them something that either they've been looking for a long time, or maybe they didn't know Dentrix could do that. And I've just showed them something amazing. And so that gets me super excited. I love those aha moments. And I get these very, very frequently, and I want to share them with all of you. So my first aha moment is whenever I'm working with a team, I always ask them, you know, if you could change one thing in your day, what would it be? And people think that maybe something that they want to change doesn't really revolve around their software. And I think, just tell me what it is, and if it revolves around the software, I'll let you know. And one of the most common things I hear when I'm working with a dental practice is, I wish we could get out on time. I wish that we didn't run late with patients. Or I wish that we could get out at the end of the day on time. And I find that that is a very common complaint in practices. And if that is something that you struggle with, if you struggle with you know, the doctor's wearing roller skates all day because he's trying to get to every treatment room all at the same time, or maybe you need to get out for lunch on time, or you know, you want to make goal every day. You want that ideal day. Well, perfect day scheduling is one of my favorite aha moments in Dentrix. And you know, I've been using it in my own practice since the beginning of time, when I was working in a practice for many, many years. And, you know, so you can see on my screen here, I do have perfect day scheduling set up a little bit on this sample database. You can see that I have a surgery block here at the beginning. I have a crown and bridge block. I have a crown delivery block. I have a new patient block. I have an SRP block. Now, I know that might not really sound like an aha moment, but for a lot of practices, it really is. What I do want to show you is I love perfect day scheduling, not only for blocking out for new patients, scaling and root planing, and surgeries and things like that, but also that emergency time. Now, I'm not a big fan of pre-blocking emergency time. But what I do like to do is, when you're in your morning huddle, then you might have in your morning huddle, you might say, okay, well, we have emergency time at, you know, 11:30 today in Op2. And so what I like to create are these kind of floating blocks. So if you see up here at 6 o'clock in the morning, you can't really see this block in the open hours, but during your morning huddle, what you can do is you pull this floating block down into your schedule. And so now you can move this emergency time wherever it fits within your schedule. So if during your morning huddle you say, okay, 11:40 is our emergency time for the day, I'm just going to drag that floating block down into my schedule so that I can now put my emergencies in and then into that spot. So I don't really like to, you know, pre-schedule for emergencies, but they do come into play, you know, on a daily basis. And so I love to create those floating blocks. So if you go to create perfect day scheduling, that's all done in the provider setup. And so I created that floating ER block on my DR99. And so what I did is I just put it on every day in Op1 from 6 a.m. to 6:30. So I don't really see it, but I can pull it down whenever I want to. And then I've got an ER dot, and I put that one on, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6 a.m. to 6:30 in Op2. And then I also have one in Op3, same time, just 6 a.m. to 6:30. So I've got emergency time that I can pull down into any of my treatment rooms, because you can see I've got them all lined up here. And, you know, so if you do see quite a few emergencies on a regular basis, you know, you can create these little floaters and just pull them down into your schedule and give your team, you know, block out your time, you know, each day. So that's my first aha moment. And we're going to clink to that. We have 3 questions.
Yep.
All right.
How close to the day do you wait until you fill the schedule in with other procedures instead?
So with perfect day scheduling, I keep it open until 48 hours before. So 2 days prior to filling that, I leave it open. And if it's still open, so if you still have that new patient block open and it's 48 hours, then I would go to my continuing care list or my unscheduled report and start pulling patients from those reports.
What is the maximum number of blocks you can have on a day per provider?
So per provider is 6. And so if you have a super busy office like I did in my own practice, you know, I had my schedule all mapped out. And so if you're like my practice, I actually had to create other providers. So like if you have, I created providers for my dental assistants, and a lot of times they were producing anyway. You know, they were doing night guard impressions and child prophies. So I created provider IDs for my assistants, and that worked. But then you could also create like a corporate provider ID, but you can have 6 blocks per provider ID.
Is it possible when I book an appointment in a certain provider's column, can it default to that provider as opposed to the provider selected for the individual?
It's not going to default. It won't default the provider ID for making the appointment. But what you can do is you can use the blocks to search. So if you were searching for an appointment, you can search by time block. So if you see right here, you can search by a time block. And another really great thing about perfect day scheduling with the new Dentrix online booking feature is that it will search out those new patient blocks. So that's really a great feature as well. Great. All right. All right. Awesome. That was our first aha moment. So that means it's time for another drawing. Aha moment. Okay. So I go into practices a lot. I do a lot of online assessments. So anytime I am going to be going into a practice, I always do an online assessment so I can evaluate how things are going, how they're using Dentrix. And then when I go into a practice, you know, we have a lot of the same conversations that I had with the online assessment. Well, it's always, whenever I ask a practice, you know, do you accept payment plans? Do you do payments in your practice? And practices always say no. No, we never take payments. We never let patients make payments. Well, I know that you guys do. You all take payments. And so the next aha moment is what I find in practices is that if you are taking payments, maybe you've allowed a patient to do extended payment agreement, you're tracking those payments in like an Excel spreadsheet, or you're tracking them on a 3-ring binder or something like that. You're putting notes in your appointment book on when to run the payment through, and you're making a lot more work for yourself is what you're doing. So I'm gonna turn my camera off for a second, and I'm going to show you that my next aha moment that most of my financial coordinators love is the payment agreement feature. And so in the Dentrix ledger, you can create a payment agreement. And the cool thing about the payment agreement is you also have this payment agreement manager report that will track all of your payments for you, okay? And you can give the patient a some kind of a signed agreement. You can put, so this patient right here, Michelle Keller, she is making payments. She's borrowing $2,200 from the office. She's making $500 a month payments. Her first payment starts today, and then she can make that payment agreement. And the other cool thing is when you are looking at the payment agreement manager, now you have all your payment agreements in one place. And you can see here what when did it start? What was the balance? How much money, how many months is she paying on? Has she missed any payments? You've got your office journal here that you can work through. You've got your guarantor notes. You can make a payment from here. So everything is organized for you in one place. Also, if you're using the collection manager report, which is my favorite report for managing your accounts receivable, if you go to your collection manager report, you will also see the payment agreements on the collection manager report. You can also just search for all patients with a payment agreement. You can also search by if they have missed any payments. So really great way to up your game with managing your accounts receivable. Now, I'm not totally opposed of taking payments. You know, I think that now, I mean, a lot of you are allowing patients to make payments. So I'm not opposed of taking payments if you have a way of managing it. And using the payment agreement manager and the payment agreements in Dentrix is an aha moment for most practices because it gives you a way of tracking those payments. Oh, okay, I love this one. Oh my gosh. Okay, so a lot of you know how much I love the office journal, right? I mean, the office journal is the centralized place for making all of your admin follow-up calls and notes about, you know, your conversations with patients about unscheduled treatment and all that kind of admin stuff. I love the office journal for that. Now, did you know that not only does every patient have an office journal, but every team member has an office journal? Did you know that? All right, let's check it out. So I'm going to go to the office journal. So you can actually use the office journal for your own, say, reminder list, your own to-do list. You can use it, you know, back in the day, that what they used to call them a 1 to 31 file, where you'd have kind of your task list, your to-do list for the month, for your 31 days or something. Well, so the office journal, you can actually put a reminder on the office journal. So let's say that you're having a conversation with this patient and you want to remind yourself to check back in with her, you know, by next year. So maybe this patient, their benefits have expired, they don't want to schedule anything until after the new year, or maybe you need to follow up on a collection call, you know, something like that. So if I go into the office journal, I can do a reminder instead of a phone call, put in a future due date. So maybe it's going to be, you know, January 2021. And I'm going to use my provide. Now, if I was using user IDs and passwords, it would already log my ID there. And this is going to be, you know, unscheduled treatment. And my note's going to be call patient to schedule. Benefits renew. Okay. So it puts a little exclamation point right there, and that I have a little reminder to myself. And so then I'm going to close that. But now if I want to see my own office journal, you know, I can open up the office journal from the office manager, or I can also tell my computer, my workstation, to load the office journal automatically whenever I log into my computer. So if you go into the preferences, I can click on this this little right here, automatically launch office journal, and I can tell my computer to automatically load my office journal every day, every morning, and then it'll show me my to-do list. So, but if I want to see my own office journal, I'll click on the office journal and I'll open it up with my provider ID. And then you'll see here's my little reminder right there. I need to call Michelle Keller on January 1st because she has unscheduled treatment and she wants to schedule after her benefits renew. So I have a lot of offices that use the office journal kind of as a message center to each other. You know, I could put a reminder on my doctor's office journal. So I could put a reminder on my doctor and say, you know, it's for, you know, patient Brent Crosby, and I need a narrative, you know, and it could be, you know, please write a narrative for tooth number 31. So I could do that, and when I put it on my doctor's office journal, then I could view it on my doctor's office journal. So if I change my provider, I could say, okay, let me see my doctor's, and then you'll see my note there that I just sent over to. So isn't that cool? So you can use the office journal not only for communication to make your phone call follow-up calls, but you can also use it as your own like to-do list. Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that awesome? Do we have questions?
We do.
Awesome.
So I'm curious.
Yes.
Do you need to be using logins and passwords for the office journal feature?
You do not.
My goodness.
I know. Imagine that. No, you don't have to be using user IDs and passwords, even though it is highly recommended. But it just won't automatically put your provider ID in the field. You'll have to select your own name from the list. Our next, our next aha moment. So when I was working in a dental practice, of course I got trained by the person that I was replacing. And of course, whenever you're trained by the person that you're replacing, they teach you as much as they really want to teach you. But one of the things I really had to learn was, how do I do billing statements? Like, how do I send statements to my patients? And so, you know, she taught me how to print the statements and you know, do them on a monthly basis. And so she said we do them at the end of the month, and you know, I didn't know any different. And you know, so that same system carried over even when I transitioned my practice to Dentrix in 2003. And so that's all I knew was to do monthly billing statements. Well, you know, as I got smarter and smarter and just more into the routines of the dental practice, sending monthly billing statements was a pain, a thorn in my side, a pain in my you know what. I mean, I did not like doing billing statements at all. And to do them on a monthly basis was hundreds of statements and printing, folding, stuffing, stamping, sending. It took me a couple days to get through them, you know. It was I hated it. And so when I had Dentrix, I'm like, there has got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to do billing statements. And so what I learned is that there is one tiny, tiny little feature in the Dentrix billing statement checkbox that changed my life, changed my world forever. And I'm going to pass it on to you. Many of you may have already heard me talk about this, but I'm going to show it to you right now. So if we go to the Office Manager where we go to do billing statements, so there's a lot of things that you can check here. There's, you know, you can filter by provider, you can filter by billing type. Now I'm on a test database, so in your office, you probably filter by billing type. You may or you may not hold on to statements for insurance, things like that. But I want to show you the one thing that changed my world forever with billing statements, and it's this field right here. Ooh, that was a perfect square right there, triangle or a rectangle. And so here's the deal. I see a lot of people on the Dentrix user group that say that they filter their statements by last name, like they do A through J the first week of the month, and then they do K through M, you know, the middle of the month. You don't have to do that. So stop doing that. You're creating more work for yourself. All right. This is the only thing you need to worry about is if not billed since. So what that does is it looks at the ledger, it looks at the last statement date, and it then decides, should I send a statement to this family? So if you go to the ledger and you see the last statement date right here, whoops, and it's empty, then they will get a statement. If that last statement date is within this range, then they won't get a statement. So what happens is you could do billing statements every day and everybody is still on a 30-day cycle. So all the patients are still only getting a statement every 30 days because this date will default to 30 days ago. So never change that date, just let it default. So you could do billing statements every day if you wanted to. Now, my recommendation has always been twice a week. What I've always done is I come in from the weekend, so Monday, I post up the weekend mail, and then I do billing statements. And then right before I leave for the weekend, I do a billing statement run. So I've always done twice a week, which has worked really well for me. You can decide. But what this does is it breaks your statements down into smaller pieces. So, you know, it improves the cash flow. So you get cash, you get money coming in throughout the month. It evens out the phone calls that you get, and it will change your life. I guarantee it. Now, we talked about payment agreements. That was our number 2 on the list. Now, these are not in order of favoritism. They're just in order of how I listed them. But we talked about payment agreements, and so the next thing on the list is I go into a lot of practices and find that a lot of patients they're asking to keep their credit cards on file, or maybe they're in a payment agreement. And one of my, like I said, I'm not totally against payment agreements, but you have to have a way of managing them, which is through the payment agreement feature. But also another one of my kind of rules is that you have a credit card on file, so you can hold the patient accountable for the payment, and you have a way of auto running their card. And I love having credit cards on file. Now, but there's no place in Dentrix, like you cannot put the guarantor, you can't put the credit card on file in the guarantor note. You can't put the credit card number in the patient note. You can't put the credit card number in the appointment note. Nowhere in Dentrix is it legal, safe, anything to put the credit card number. That is against the payment card industry rules, so don't do it. Now, you can, though, use Dentrix Pay and put the credit card on file. So if we go to the patient ledger again, so on the patient ledger, there will be I don't have it because I don't have Dentrix Pay included. I don't have it installed on my computer. But when you go to make a payment agreement, so let's pretend we're doing a payment agreement. When you're creating a payment agreement, you will have a little button right here that says add credit card on file. So you can add the credit card number through using Dentrix Pay, and then you can add it to the payment agreement. So now not only do you have a payment agreement on file, but you also have the credit card on file, and it's actually going to give you like little pop-up bubbles on your workstation that's going to remind you that when that payment is due, that you now have to run the credit card through. So it's totally legal. It meets payment card industry standards to have those credit cards on file. Now, another cool thing with having credit cards on file is when you go to make a normal payment. So in here, if you have credit cards on file, you will have like right next to the Visa, MasterCard, and maybe the Amex right here, you'll have little buttons that will kind of prompt you that this patient has a credit card on file. And then when you go to run that card, you can actually choose from the card that's on file. Now, if the patient doesn't have any cards on file, then it will actually prompt you to then, would you like to put this credit card on file? And then you could say yes, and the patient signs a consent form, and you can keep the credit card on file for up to a year. And it can just be used for payments after insurance pays. You can use it for payment agreements. You can use it for future due payment plans if you're using that for ortho, all kinds of stuff. So such a great feature. And that's just a total aha moment for offices that are really looking for a good solution to storing those credit cards on file. Because if you don't have that kind of integrated solution, then you're putting them in a safe, or you're writing them down on a notebook, but then you have to keep it in some kind of a safe to keep it safe. And you also don't want to be running your credit cards through, you don't want to be hand keying in your credit cards, because one of my good friends, Cheryl, who works for Merchant Advocate, she was letting us know that the credit card industry is just like raking you guys over the coals. If you are hand keying in your credit card numbers, you're paying an astronomical amount of fees for hand keying in your credit card numbers. So this feature right here is not only an aha moment for offices, but it's also a huge money saver. Okay, our next integration is, gosh, I was so excited when this happened. I'll never forget when I used to hear little rumors around that CareCredit was going to be integrating in with Dentrix. And so when that actually happened, I was very honored to be kind of a spokesperson per se for the new CareCredit integration when it launched. And it is just, anytime you can streamline your systems, anytime you can make things easier, more efficient, easier for the patient, things are better in the practice. And so the CareCredit integration is my number 6 on my list of aha moments. And So let me show you on your ledger toolbar right here, you will see a CareCredit icon on your toolbar. So what does that mean exactly? Well, what it means is that you can apply for a new application. You can look up someone's open credit. You can go to the CareCredit quick screen where you could do a quick screen of the patient to see if what they qualify, if they possibly might qualify for an amount, and you could post a transaction right through the patient ledger. And so just super excited about that CareCredit integration because anytime you don't have to leave your Dentrix software to go out and do a task or a process, saves you time. It saves you steps. So anytime you can save yourself time, time is money, and it just integrates right into the Dentrix software. Another thing I love about it is you can do that. Now I can't click on it because I don't have a merchant ID. I tried to get one today. My merchant ID that I used to have expired, so I couldn't open it. But what you'll do is if you have your CareCredit merchant ID, then go into the practice resource setup here. And then you'll come in here to the CareCredit field right here. And that's where you're going to enter in your CareCredit merchant ID. Super easy. And I have a CareCredit integration playbook that I will send all of you in the follow-up email. So when you get my follow-up email, you'll get this CareCredit playbook. It gives you all the instructions on how to set it up in your Dentrix software. So you'll put in your merchant ID, you'll make sure that you have the correct adjustment types, payment types, and so that it will work seamlessly in with your patient ledger. So, if you're doing a treatment plan estimate, then you can, if you're doing a consultation, you could open up the patient ledger and do a new quick screen the patient during the consultation, or even do it before they come in. If you have a consultation coming up today, you could screen the patient and see, it's a soft touch on their, like it doesn't touch their credit. It's like what do they call it? A soft hit or something. But your CareCredit rep would definitely be able to give you a lot more details about that. I'm just super excited about the integration because if you're doing a consultation today, or you have a patient that has a big treatment plan that you're going to be talking to them about, you could screen them before they even come in the office. And okay, next on our list, number 7. All right, doctors and clinicians, you are gonna love this one, okay? So I was working with a doctor once, and I was working with the whole clinical team, and what the doctor said to me was, Dayna, all I need to see are my clinical notes and what have I billed out to the patient. I don't need to see anything else. I just need to see that. And, so many of the clinicians, so many doctors are so used to being able to scroll through or flip pages of their paper chart and be able to scroll through all the clinical notes. But what I find is people get really frustrated when they have to click on each individual clinical note. So my number 7, we're on number 7. My number 7 aha moment is when I show this to my doctors and the clinical team. So here we go. The progress notes what everybody knows about the progress notes is that it keeps track of procedure codes, right? Well, did you know that you can also, I'm just going to move this up a little bit here. Did you know that you can you can add your clinical notes into your progress notes? So you can actually scroll through them just like you would looking at them like a paper chart. So you can see here, I've got my clinical note here from April 10th of last year. I have another clinical note from April 10th, and then we completed the checkup and cleaning. And then here's a clinical note from May 15th, and we did some sealants on this patient. And then if I scroll down a little bit more, here's my clinical note from December 9th, and then they came in for a limited exam. And then there's a clinical note from October 7th of this year, and we did a comp exam and a perio maintenance. So when you combine your clinical notes in with your progress notes, now you have almost like the page that you used to have with your paper chart. So I'm just going to highlight a couple things here. The only things I have listed here on my progress notes, so I'm here on my progress notes, and I've included only completed procedures, and I've clicked on my clinical notes and expand notes. Those are the three icons that I have selected on my my toolbar here. So I've got expand notes, clinical notes, and completed procedures. So this is like probably when I show this to the clinical team members when I'm in office training, I mean, almost like standing ovation every time I show this. So this is my number 7 aha moment, and I hope that you all. Number 8. Okay, this kind of goes along with the same thing as the scrolling through the clinical notes. So if I blew you away with that one and there wasn't any questions about that, I want to show you how you can change up the view on your patient chart to kind of make it a little bit easier to actually go through your chart every day. I know that hygienists and doctors, you like to review your charts maybe the day before or the morning of your patients coming in, and maybe at the end of the day or maybe right before lunch, before the end of the day, you like to go through and make sure that all your clinical notes are completed, you've billed out everything appropriately, and everything looks good. And so I'm going to show you a chart view, and that you can actually create a custom chart view, because you don't always have to take, you know, the Dentrix default views. So I'm going to show you a way that you can create a custom view. So let me get this. So most of you might be used to a chart view that maybe looks like this. Maybe it looks like this. This is the default work chart. This is the default treatment plan chart because it has the treatment planner over here. But did you know that you can actually create a custom chart view? And so I created one that I found. I was in an office recently and they have the coolest chart view. And so I kind of duplicated it and I wanted to show it to you. And it's a custom chart view. And it looks kind of like this. So what I did here was I put the I made a bigger I put the progress notes right here in the middle. And then the buttons are over here and the codes are over here. And this is just my custom view. Now, you can play around with this and create a view that you like. So what I like about this view is I can scroll through my chart notes right here, right? I could even take off the stuff that's been completed And then all you see here is your clinical notes. Now, how many people like that, where you can actually see all your clinical notes at the same time instead of having to open each one individually? So see this? This is just looking at your clinical notes kind of as like one sheet of paper. And so you can customize all these panels. And the way you do that is each one of these panels you can move around. So see, when I grab the progress note panel, see this little center, kind of a little navigation thing in the middle? Now I could say, I want to dock this way over here on this side, or I want to dock this on this side, or I want to dock it down at the bottom. So see how you can create your own kind of custom view? And then when you find a view that you really like, then go up to view, go to chart layout, and you can save the current layout, and then you could give it a name. You know, I could say, this is Dayna's view. And you can also save your toolbars with this layout. Oh, I can't have a apostrophe. There we go. So I can now if I go to view and I got my chart layout, now I have my chart review, which is this one I was just showing you guys earlier. And then I have Dayna's view, which is a little bit different. And now, I'm not a huge fan of having all these different kinds of chart layouts. Because when the clinical team, like if the doctor is going into different rooms, it's always going to be better if you have consistency across all treatment rooms, because when the doctor comes in, or if your hygienists have to switch to a different room, it's always best if you have consistency and the chart looks the same. So if you do like a view, like this office I was in recently, all their charts look like this. And so even though it was custom, all the charts looked the same. And so no matter what treatment room you went into, and they had 11 treatment rooms, no matter what treatment room you went into, they all looked the same, but they all were using the same custom view. So highly recommend you kind of play around with that, see if there's something that you like better. I think that your clinical team, so if your doctors are not online with us tonight, show this to your doctors and your hygienists and see, if that is an aha moment for them. Maybe that would be a light bulb moment for your clinical team, and you can go back onto your practice tomorrow or Monday and show them something that you learned during our webinar tonight. Our next, we're getting close, we have 2 more. All right, the next one is we're staying on the patient chart. I'm surprised how many offices don't know that this exists. And so one thing that I love about computers and love about having a digital chart is the ability to filter information. And so you have so much data in your patient chart, and sometimes it's nice to be able to kind of really drill down information, like per tooth. And so I don't know if all of you know, but let your clinical team know that there is a filter by tooth number feature in Dentrix. I'm going to show you what that is right now. So let's say, for example, I'm going to scooch back to this tooth. So let's say this tooth number 21. So if I select this tooth, so if I highlight that tooth on my tooth chart, then there is a icon on the toolbar that's called by selected tooth, by selected teeth, not tooth, by selected teeth. And if I click on that, then what it's going to do is it's going to filter my progress notes by tooth number. So I can see now it's filtered my progress notes by that tooth number. So you can see there. So you can see the history, you can see the stuff that's existing, you can see stuff that's been completed, stuff that's on the treatment plan. So if a patient comes in for like a toothache or they keep coming in for the same problem, you can easily filter your progress notes by that tooth number. And I'm surprised that so many clinicians don't know that that's there. And so whenever I show that to offices, when I'm in offices, they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that was there. And so I added that to my list of top 10 aha moments. And I know that's a super simple one, but it definitely gets lots of standing ovations when I am teaching offices. So I know that was a simple one, but.
Well, we just had one report that her doctor just said OMG.
Oh, good.
So there you go.
That's awesome. Our last aha moment. And I'm going to stay on the patient chart because you can access it from here. And I'll show you a couple other places. But I always like to find little shortcuts. I always like it when I can show somebody a shortcut and their eyes light up and they're like, oh my gosh, I love that. And so one of my favorite features in Dentrix, and it's located on every Dentrix module, it's on most Dentrix reports, is the more information button. And if you don't know what it is, I'm gonna show it to you right now. I'll grab my little pen. So right here is the more information button. And what makes it special is, what if you have a patient in your chair and let's say you're just making small talk and you have mom in the chair and mom says, oh, can you, while we're waiting for the doctor to come in for the exam, could you just let me know when my kids' appointments are? Well, easy, super easy. Click on the more information button and you can see, let me erase those things out of the way. You can see here, I've got Michelle Keller is our patient, and then I've got Nina. Here's her daughter, 14-year-old daughter, Nina. That's actually me right there, but that's okay. Here's Nina. So if I click on Nina, you can see her appointments down here. You can see her appointment here. Tabitha, if I click on Tabitha, so here's Tabitha. You can see Tabitha's appointment, when's her due date. Then I can click on Richie. Here's Richie. Oh, we don't have a photo of Richie. Here's his upcoming appointments on December 8th and his due dates for his checkups. So I love the more information button, especially if you want to look up family information quickly at a glance, because it shows you when they're scheduled, when they're due. It does show you a little bit about their balance. It shows you their how old they are, their ages, their address, their phone numbers. So just a really quick screen. And I accessed it right from the patient chart, from the more information button. Now you can also get to it on the appointment book. So like, let's say that you double click to schedule a patient. There's also the more information button down here in the lower left corner of your scheduling box. So you could click on that more information button there as well. And you can also see it from most Dentrix reports. So if you're working the, let's say you're working the unscheduled list. So if I click on the unscheduled list, then you've got your more information button right here on the toolbar as well. So it's everywhere. It really gives you a quick snapshot of other family members. If they're scheduled, it'll show you their photos. If you have photos on file, you can see here, here's the Edwards family. I've got John Edwards, he's the guarantor. He's got a couple appointments on the unscheduled list. You can see here. I've got John Edwards Jr. He's scheduled on December 8th. And then I have Kimberly. She's also scheduled on December 8th. So really quick, awesome little feature that really makes a difference in like searching for information. So that has always made my aha moments, because I get eyes that light up when I'm teaching and I show them that feature. So